Hey guys, welcome to the Kunal Call. I'm Kunal Bhatia and I'm joined by Gautam Goenka of Junction. First of all, Gautam, thank you for joining me. It's a real pleasure for me.
Hey Kunal, thanks for having me over.
So let's get to it. You have short and sweet starting next week. So how are
Yep.
the preparations been and how is everything going on with that preparation right now?
Well, we're very excited. Short and Sweet is looking like another successful year. This year's been especially taxing, given the virus, but
Yeah.
preparations are coming along well. There's 130 teams. The festival has grown further, so we're going to go run for 2 whole months. And we've had a couple of workshops with regards to directing, with acting. There's another lighting workshop coming up on Saturday. So things are going well. Things are going really well.
Everything is going well, but I want to talk to you about the time where Junction started 2015, the whole journey of the Junction, because I was in the first play of my life in theater, like in the proper theater. Like I've been a part of drama plays of my university, but I got what do you say, a taste of theater in 2016. And obviously, the Junction really helped me in giving me a lot of confidence. So, looking at the journey you have been on, you and your team, how has it been? Because I never thought I think that you never thought that this would happen, so suddenly, so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, look, the journey has been a very interesting one. We started up back in 2015, as you say, but before that, it took a whole year for construction and then another few months for planning and getting things together. But
Yeah.
it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, coming together, building a theater out of nothing. The idea came to us, over a party that we were having after one of the plays, frustrated at the lack of venues, spaces for performers in the UAE, and where the venues and spaces were there, either their high costs or their barriers to entry. And the idea was to build a place by performers for performers, and that's how the Junction came about. It took a lot of um, effort and time because none of us had done anything of the sort and never started up a business at all working professionals. And then this happened. So, yeah.
I mean, the Junction has been on a really an amazing ride, but I want to ask you regarding do you think the Junction has helped in creating in a theater atmosphere for allowing people to come and showcase themselves?
Yeah, absolutely, Kunal. I mean, look, I started up in theater in Dubai. So I'm a Dubai boy. I grew up here 30 plus years in this wonderful country. And theater over here was never high. Local community theater, Dubai produced theater was never done in high quantity or quality. When I first started up 20 plus years ago, we were having one, maybe two plays a year, full length
Yeah.
plays. Everything else was imported. We were bringing things from outside, best of the East, best of the West. So Dubai always brought in and imported its theater. Nobody really bothered about community or local theater. And then, slowly started growing. There was still only about 4 or 5 plays happening. But since the junctions come along, the number of plays has just grown exponentially. So, we now have weekends that are packed, shows that are happening regularly. We've got full length plays that are being written and produced in Dubai, right? So, original scripts are coming about. That is something I never thought I would see too much of. But now, there is a good 52 weeks of programming that is there, and then more that spills over to other venues as well. So, I definitely think Junction has played some small part in all of this.
Yeah, that's actually a good answer, and it's true, because before the Junction, there was not much theater awareness or acting or directing was not given that much importance because there
Yeah,
was not.
sorry, please go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that before in the previous generation, particularly in Dubai, we didn't people didn't get an opportunity to do this stuff. Maybe they wanted to do this, but it was not that as regular as Junction. There's every week some kind of activity going on, and there's some auditions or plays or short and sweet is happening. So it has helped in creating an atmosphere for just performing.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't happening at the level that it should have been happening. Now, if you look at great cities, Kunal, you go east or you go west, and you look at some fantastic cities that have done theater, that produce good theater. whether it be London, whether it be Mumbai, whether it be New York City. These are all cities that have done theater for decades, right? For generations,
Yeah.
and why has always just imported all of this. So we've been a net importer of talent. My view was that we should become a net exporter of talent. We've got lovely stories to tell in this city. We're a city that is multicultural. People from all over the world come here, live in harmony, live in peace. We've got great stories to tell. A very unique style of storytelling exists over here. And Junction was able to be that catalyst, that platform where people were able to come and tell these stories, right? So we wanted to create that atmosphere and do so in an environment that would be sustainable. So I think
Yeah.
business sustainability was key over here. I think neither of the co-founders ever thought that this would be a business that we would get into it and this would be a profitable and we needed to make money off it. But the idea was we wanted to build something sustainable, something that was long term, something that would have a legacy of theater. And what we've been able to do in 5 years, I'm very proud of personally. And to see just new talent coming in, seeing the amount of plays, the amount of theater or inspired performing arts that happen above and beyond theater as well has been has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice to see that there is what do you say, respect now for the theater community. Before, I don't think there was respect over here in Dubai because it was not done properly.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it respect so much, Kunal. I'd probably say recognition.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I think as a city we've always been respectful. As communities, we've always been respectful. But I don't think there was recognition.
hmm.
So if you asked people, hey, have you seen any Dubai-based place? People weren't able to give you an answer in the affirmative. If you ask them, they knew a few actors, a few directors, a few writers who were based in Dubai. They wouldn't be able to tell you much. Groups that were here, they wouldn't be able to name any because there weren't that many. And so recognition has grown and appreciation has grown. And as quantity has started coming in, the quality has started rising because each and every theater group, each and every production has had to up its game in order
Yeah,
to attract. Today, an audience member is torn for choice. Every week they can see good plays. Each month, it's a positive problem of what should I go and watch. If I have limited budget, what should I invest in and what should I go and watch? And so that's a good problem, and then allows theater groups to up their game in order to attract audiences. So that's what we started seeing.
yeah, that's actually true because I just saw recently the Midsummer's play in
Yeah.
December, and I honestly didn't expect it to be that great. I was there because my friend is there, Siddhant, and I wanted to see him perform because he wanted to perform and he got a chance. But when I saw the play, I was shocked. I was really amazed with the creativity and the dance and the acting. I love the play. I was like, every person should go and see this play before this year end because everyone has been through such a bad year, and that play is such a happy play. You know?
You echo what one of the audience members had told us. Somebody said, this year I choose to remember this year based on Midsummer and the kind of
Yeah,
positivity that it brought compared to the craziness that's happened in the year. And you're absolutely right. Lydia Medeiros, who's the director of that play, and her team did a fab job in just um, telling a great story. Right? Who would have thought
yeah,
we could do a musical Shakespeare? And that's the kind of things
exactly.
we're doing. When
Yeah,
she first sat down with me and said, Gautam, I want to do a Shakespeare play, but it's going to be a musical. I went, okay. And she said, it's going to be contemporary songs. We'll sing Billie Eilish. And I went, okay, you're going to sing Billie Eilish, do Shakespeare. All right. You seem, and she was somebody who, we've known about as a talent for the best part of last year. And we said, okay, we can trust her. She knows what she's doing. And the result, as you can see, was fabulous. I remember watching week one and going, man, that play is excellent. And by week two,
yeah,
I was in the play. So it was
yeah.
great.
So that was one thing. The Midsummers really helped in terms of like
Yeah.
achieving that positivity. I want to ask you about this year's short and sweet in particular because last year so much of negativity happened in terms of like the world was really going through some problems, and because of Dubai government, and we are able to do these things now in this year without any fear, and but we have to take precautions. But the fear has gone down. So what are you aiming for this year? Because do you want to just tell people to forget everything, just come and enjoy?
I don't think we can forget everything that's happening in the world. I think that would be a. I wish we could do
Yeah.
that. But you're right in saying, the government here has provided us a safe haven. The work that they've done with guidelines, with ensuring that there is safety for audience members and for performers, and the speed at which they have operated and made sure that events and in general the economy has reopened has been
Yeah.
phenomenal. It's commendable to another level. I uh, knowing other business owners, other entrepreneurs, many of them really, really bless their stars that they're here in the UAE where the government has been so well thought out with their plans around how to combat the challenges that come up with the coronavirus. And so, even with us, we are hoping as Short and Sweet rolls around, we'd love to have a successful Short and Sweet, but more importantly, from my point of view, I'd love to have a safe Short and Sweet. So the participants are coming in and they leave happy. The audience members are coming in, they leave happy and safe. And that, we're able to put on this magical event that comes up once a year and make it successful again. Last year, we by skin of our teeth, the gala finale happened, and the week after the shutdown happened. So
Mhm.
it was, just by the skin of our teeth, Short and Sweet was not part of the lockdown virus that happened. This year, I from the preparations the team is doing, I know the Junction staff, the kind of preparations they're making to ensure that safety protocols are followed. Yes, our capacity is reduced. Usually we're up to our full capacity of 160 seats, but now we're down to 87. But still, that social distancing, the cleaning of the space, the sanitization drives, those are all still going on to ensure that we have a safe festival.
You spoke about COVID-19. I want to ask you, how did you deal with COVID-19 when it happened? How did the junction, how that period for you guys?
Well, not really good because it happened at a period which was our peak season. I don't think any businesses would have preferred the kind of impact of it that came, the negative impact of it that came. We were closed down for 4 months straight as it started off. At that point, one of the things, the principles that we had decided, my partner Arjun and I, was that we wouldn't lay off any of our team members, that we ensured that we would keep staff fully with us. We were able to keep them at 100% salaries for a while, for the 4 months, and then after that, we had to actually reduce salaries, which was tough. But the team kind of came through, not knowing. We started moving on to online platforms. We did a lot of plays on Instagram. We had lovely support from our partners like Book My Show, content that came up from various members of the community who very selflessly stepped up and said, I'll do something. But at the same time, that is not income, right? I mean, there's still bills to
Yeah.
be paid. There's still work that has to happen. We got support from two very key areas. Circle Avenue, our partners where Junction is located, really came out of the door, really trying to help. They helped us on restructuring some of our rents, even waiving off some of the checks. That helped Junction survive for a good while. And then, of course, the Ministry of Culture over here in the UAE deemed Junction as a institution that really needed to keep going, and it really just reaffirmed our faith in being here in the UAE. And they actually gave us a grant that allowed us to, function and operate during the pandemic hit years, to ensure that we did not lay off anybody, and that staff members were still employed, even though there was nothing happening at the theater. Everybody was just at home.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a number of months, and we were praying and hoping something would happen. And then come July, really, really happy to see that event started up in a very small way. We were open with only about 50 seats, 51 seats. It was nothing, but at least it was something.
Yeah.
The community came back in full strength. So all of last year, actually, we did not rent the Junction out to any local theater company because
Hmm.
nobody could afford to pay rent. So what we did
Yeah.
was work on partnerships with almost every single theater company, where we said, okay, let's partner with you, put up your content, and then we'll see where revenue comes from, and we'll make it happen. So it was a very different year in terms of handling finances, businesses, the turmoil that came with COVID-19.
Yeah, I'm glad that year is over now. I'm glad positive thing ahead. It was a crazy year
Absolutely.
for everyone. I want to ask you, what are the future plan of the Junction? What do you want to achieve in the next 5 years now? You've been here for 5 years. What are the next 5 years plan for you guys?
That's a good one. So what's the wish list for the next 5 years? I think to do more quality productions and to take this to the next level. People ask me quite a lot, what is the next level? What are you guys hoping to do? For me, the next level would be um, taking place and becoming an exporter of talent. So remember, I told you that UAE so far was an
Yeah.
importer of talent. Let's become a net exporter of talent. So can we take UAE stories, original scripts that have come out of the UAE, and take them around the world? That would be a big goal of mine. How can we increase and do more of storytelling, theater, stand-up comedy? These are the three fields that the Junction really functions in. So can we do more of these as well? Last year we launched out our brand, the Junction Live, which then started focusing on bringing some of the biggest events that were not done within the walls of the Junction. So the Junction Live
Okay.
were were events that we would need bigger space for. So, for example, last year February we brought over the really famous Indian stand-up comedian Veer Das, and we took Dubai Opera, and we were able to sell that out. So
Wow.
we'd like to do more stuff like that, and hopefully with local content. So our ethos of community will continue to stay, I hope, over the next 5 years. I hope we can grow and reach more people. So increase the reach of the Junction. At the same time, improve the quality of the productions, which has been consistently rising over the last 5 years, to really have world-class performing arts done here in the city. I think that would be my wish for the next 5 years.
Those are good plans. I want to ask you regarding the new talent. Suppose if a person who just wants to start off in the Junction and he doesn't know what to do, what do you see in that person, or what do you want to see in a person to make sure that goes in your head? Like, okay, I want him to be a part of this play, even a small role. For example, he doesn't know acting
Yeah.
that much or directing that much. So, what do you see in a particular person to get a click? Okay, let's bring him in and just teach him.
So I think, Kunal, the one thing that we cannot teach but is critical to any production at the community level, whether it be at the Junction in Dubai, whether that be in Australia, whether that be in Singapore or anywhere in Europe, is passion. We can't teach passion.
Yeah.
We can't. That's something that has to come from within. So I think if you're passionate about it, whether it be about acting, writing, directing, that has to come from within. I think then the rest of the role is for theater groups, directors, spaces like the Junction to recognize that passion and give it a platform. That's what we are here for. So I always tell people, especially this week, we just had auditions this past weekend, and I always tell
Yeah.
people, we can't teach you passion, but if you're here for the first time, get come over to auditions. So what, you've never done this before? We've always been in that same boat. I've been on
Yeah.
that other side where I've never done any acting, and I turned up to an audition and I learned. Some people have formal training, that's great, but Junction's always been a space that is open to people regardless of formal training or no formal training. We've
Yeah.
had people who started off over here and then made their careers completely around performing arts and theater and filmmaking sometimes. So I think now the first thing that we can't teach but is critical is passion. You want to be able to do this and you want to do it well. So coming to rehearsals, building that rigor of discipline, of being there and being open to learning. I think that is probably another thing that we can't completely teach, but is critical, which is being open to learning. And we get people who come in for the first time. Last week, we had a gentleman who came in. If I was to estimate his age, I would say he would be either 50 or 55. And I asked him, I said, sir, what made you come into rehearsals? And he went, lockdown happened and I wanted to learn some new skills. So I went online, looked at a
Yeah.
few acting lessons, and then I saw this audition notice. So I decided to come. And that's being open to learning, right? That's being open to new ways of thinking. That is the passion that we cannot teach. And then the rest of it, yeah, I mean, look, any one of us can teach. It's not rocket science. There are wonderful frontline workers that are doing more complicated things than what we are doing. This is acting and directing. I always say this is in everybody's blood. If you have ever visualized the scene, if you ever looked at a movie or a TV show and said, "Hey, that could have been better if they did this," there is
Hmm.
a director in you. If you ever looked up and pretended to be something that you weren't, even as a child or as an adult, you've been an actor. If you had visions and stories in your mind, you've been a writer. Now it's just about getting it out onto paper, getting it in front of people, sharing that vision, believing in it. And that we can help along with the journey. There have been great new talents that have started in the last season alone. That if every season, this is what amazes me. And Short and Sweet's the place to see it. When you
Yeah.
see brand new talent and they come and tell you, never done theater before, this was my first play. And that to me is just mind boggling. You see them and you're going, how is this person not an actor, a professional full-time actor? They're so good. And so you start seeing them in small 10-minute roles, and then they end up taking up bigger full-length play roles, and they start delivering, and you're starting to go, this is great. There's an actor I cast from last week's audition, brand new actor. I was speaking to him a few days back as he was getting a role. So as a director, I was talking to him and I went, where did you pick this up from? And he went, during the lockdown, just decided I wanted to act. And if you see his auditions, oh my God, we were all blown away by his audition. And we ended up giving him a fairly chunky role. So yeah.
I think with acting or directing, I think it's just shyness in the start where they just want to like show it, but they're not, they're like too scared or like, too, okay, I need to show to this person or that person. There needs to be an area where you can be yourself properly. I think with Junction, what it does, it
Yeah.
allows people to be themselves.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're partially correct on saying that there is this sense of apprehensiveness. We put up all these barriers around us, especially as we get older. If you look at kids,
Yeah.
they have no barriers. There is no sense of guilt or shame to say, "Hey, I can't do this. Why not?" You tell them become a pirate right here, and they'll become a pirate. They'll do it. It's adults who start thinking this. What do people say? What will they say? Who's watching? And so yeah, once that barrier is dropped, as people become more vulnerable, that's the word I'm looking for, as they become more vulnerable, they start to kind of bring in all of these learned shared memories, and they're able to perform it on stage. And that vulnerability is important. And yes, Junction plays the role of giving you a platform where you can be vulnerable, where you can be yourself, where you can explore, right? And really go, after exploring, you can go, well, that looked really bad. I want to do something else. Or you can go, wow, that was great. Let's see and do more.
Yeah. One more thing I want to ask you is about the kids that are involved in theater plays. Could you imagine the kind of confidence these guys have now compared to us, like when we were kids?
I, 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 I I agree with you, Kunal. I mean, look, I think there has been definitely a lot more acceptance of
Yeah.
um, performing arts than there was a few decades ago.
Yeah.
If I really think about, was um, was I more exposed to performing arts? Yes, we were exposed. I went to a great school over here in Dubai, Gems Modern Academy, what it's called now. Back then, it was called Modern High School. But we weren't exposed as much. Today, with the access through the internet, today with learning more from different parts of the world, people are more exposed, and parents are and families are a lot more open. This is me
Correct.
giving a very subcontinent view of it. So
Yeah.
forgive me if it sounds a little more subcontinent in its view, but that is true. So I'm talking, I'm from India, and so I'm talking with the subcontinent view of it. That we have become a lot more open towards some of these careers. We started going, yeah, that is a possibility. Why not? Whereas in the past, I remember when I first got told by a career counselor, you should do filmmaking. I remember telling her, if I go home and tell my father I should become a filmmaker, he will first shoot me, then he'll come looking for you. So you might as well suggest something else.
Yeah,
And no, I was wrong with that as well. My parents did encourage me quite a bit after that, to go do things, but I don't know. It was a bit of self-regulation and it was a bit of societal regulation. But you're right; it's starting to drop. Today, parents are open to doing theater classes. We, as the Junction, deliver theatrical classes to various schools. So, my wife Akansha, she leads the schools wing of this and goes out to various schools and delivers training classes. And she does it at the kindergarten and primary level. So, right, it's theater at the kindergarten and primary level, KG kids. And you'd
yeah,
think, what will a KG kid do with theater? And you'd be surprised how many parents sign up. How many parents sign up just to go, I want my kids to learn that confidence. Because if nothing else, theater teaches you confidence, right?
correct.
It teaches you
Yeah,
communication skills. And how many of us, could do with better confidence or more better communication skills, regardless of what we do. If you're an engineer, you're a doctor, or you're a theater actor or a film actor, communication is key to all of us. You're working in a corporate, communication is key, to getting your job done, regardless of what job you do, technical or non-technical.
I think when you see people, when I see kids now and they're performing, that example of one kid I saw in Midsummer's Play, he was jumping around and doing stuff that I'm like, this guy is crazy, man. How is he doing this?
He is an extremely talented young man. So big shout out to Shayal. And that was the first time we saw him on stage, right? And
Yeah,
he was playing the character of Puck. And Puck is a very is one of Shakespeare's best written characters. But really, the energy that he brought to that character was phenomenal. And to the other kids, in Midsummer Night's Dream, we had I think about 6 or 8. Feels like more. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
teens. They were teens, and they were fabulous. They came into rehearsals. They had their lines learned. The energy with which they approached things. When they had to listen, how well they listened, and when they had to perform, how well they performed. My only complaint with all of them is the WhatsApp groups never stop talking. Every morning till date, when I wake up, the WhatsApp groups have 900 messages. But apart from that, they've been fabulous. They've been such a ball of energy, and that prompted the Junction to actually end up opening the Green Room, which was this kids theater group, because we started recognizing, hey, there's this entire untapped market of young performers who aren't getting a chance in theater unless there's a play that's specifically written for them, or when you see something like Midsummer, where Lydia on purpose goes out and takes younger teens, to come and perform. We then said, okay, let's open up a theater group and mentor some of these kids to allow them to
yeah.
do plays. And so the Green Room was brought up with that view. And today, it started off with 10 or 15 kids around a room, and then went on to today there are about 60, 70 of them, and they already have plays coming up in short and sweet. They've already planned what their full length play is going to be in August, September. And these are, some of them are as young as 14, 15. I got calls from parents. Suddenly I started getting calls from parents going, kids are doing something called the Green Room. Is that? And I went, no, that's completely legal. And they said, how do they cover the cost? And we said, we will take care of the cost. Right? Just let them
Oh,
perform.
yeah.
And
Wow.
that's, they're performing, and you'll see these kids, if you and I talk in a year's time, you'll be talking to me about a Green Room play, because those guys are absolutely on fire.
Yeah, that's a very good thing, allowing kids to, showcase their talents. And acting only comes when you practice it more and more. It doesn't just
Yeah,
happen when you sit at home and you have to go in front of people, do it. Maybe if you're doing it wrong, also it's fine. You'll keep growing. That's
yeah, you're
acting.
100%.
And now I want to talk about directing. Now, directing a
Yeah,
play. Now, I've always been a fan of directing more than acting, because I think directors j- before don't get the respect that much. And now there has been an increase of directors, because an actor is a, what do you say, is a puppet of the director. In some way, not in every play you can see the actor will, what do you say, will completely surrender to the director. It's a collaboration between actor and directors, but the
correct.
director
I
has to be the lead.
Yeah, I always say a director is the captain of the ship. So if you think of the production, the overall play as a ship that's going to its destination, which is a performance in front of a good audience, Then the director becomes the captain of that ship. Their role is to have the vision and to bring their vision to life, and to do so in a manner that actors feel empowered, are doing what they believe the character is, and are yet able to bring that vision to life. So I think good directors are directors who are ones who are able to communicate well with actors, are able to tell you what's up here, and then show them that in front of the audience,
Yeah.
and do it in a manner which is collaborative, as you say, with the actors. So definitely, it is a big mammoth task. I always, if you use a corporate expression, it's a big project that has to be managed. So project management skills become great, because it's not just the acting. Arjun Berman, who's the co-founder, is with me. We talk about, we do this directors workshop. We did one back at the start of this week, and we always liken it to the iceberg principle. So what you see above the water, which is the actual play when the audience comes and sees, just is about 20% of the overall effort. The
Yeah.
80% that you don't see, which is, how do we get the lights, the sound, the music, the costumes, the characterizations, the posters, the marketing, the makeup, you name it, every single thing that goes from props all the way to the sound effects, to the tickets that have to be sold, and the permissions that need to be taken, the rights that need to be acquired, all of that is squarely within the purview of the director and the production team.
I mean, you must have had some people, directors going crazy with so much of things to be done in a play for a play to get ready.
I think we ease them into it so it
Yeah.
doesn't come as a shock. So anytime any director is coming through to the junction, we ease them into it. What does that mean? So on day one, if you were to play a sport, and let's take maybe cricket as an analogy, if you were to play cricket and I put you in front of the world's best bowling attack and told you to bat,
Yeah.
or told you to bowl to the world's best batting, it'd be very difficult for you. So we ease them into it. And short and sweet played that role. So short and sweets that ease into directing. Okay, take a 10-minute play, taste it, try it. Not much on the line. It's a 10-minute play. If you fail as well, it's 10 minutes. If you succeeded, it's 10 minutes. That's step one to me. Step two becomes assisting somebody else. Now, some people take this route, some people don't take this route, but I prefer taking that route. So in every play, you have a few assistant directors, maybe one, maybe two. And as you assess people, you've got the benefit of being in that deputy seat without having too much responsibility on your shoulders. So you've got responsibility for certain areas, but in general, you are you're an observer. You're trying to absorb as much as you can from the director. So you assist. You become part of productions. You then maybe handle a certain area. You say, okay, I'm going to handle the lights and sound, or I'm going to handle props. I'm going to be in charge of marketing, or I'm going to take over as the stage manager. These are all small ways of learning. And
Hmm.
then when you're ready, you take on the big job, which is directing a full length play. And
Yeah.
that too has degrees, right? How many actors, how many people? Some people take that journey really quickly. There are people who are born for it, dive right into it. They do a 10-minute play and they're ready to direct a full length play. A classic example and a recent one of this is Satyan Chandiramani, my director from Reservoir Dogs. Last year he was in Short and Sweet. He was directing his first full length 10-minute play, and he was ready to do a full length play, and he put in the time and effort for it. And others take time, right? So others will take a few weeks, may need a few years, may need a few productions before they're ready to do something. So it to each his own.
Yeah, to each his own. We talk spoke about directing now. We speak about writing. How
Yes.
writing is such an underrated part of anything, of movies or theater. So so suppose if you're a writer, what would you do to write a new play in terms of like to bring it to theater?
I mean, look, first and foremost, I must add the big disclaimer. I am probably the worst writer that you want to collaborate with. So, of all the aspects of theater, I think my skills can be sharpened a lot in writing, and that's why I am probably in awe of playwrights. Those who can who can put that pen to paper, or rather the keys to a Word document, and then do some amazing writing, right? And create. It's definitely a skill that has not been recognized so much, hasn't gotten its due over the last few years. But with platforms and OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, giving chances to newer writers, I think we're starting to see the growth of talented writers. In terms of theater, if you're a good writer, the idea is to write as much, whether it's good or bad. Here's my 2 cents: to write as much as you can and to get it out there, to get it performed. I think writers who will spend a lot of time trying to perfect the script before getting it out tend to take too much time, or they get stuck in that entire cycle of perfection. There will never be a
Hmm.
perfect script. There will never be one script that everybody agrees is perfect. That perfection is not going to be there. So get it out there. The faster you write, the quicker you tweak, the better you get it out, the better you'll become. And I think quantity of writing matters. Getting a good soundboard, whether that is people you trust or a group of trusted advisors who tell you how best to write. Is your writing any good? That's important. And I think, like with directing and acting, so too in writing, you need to have the courage to hear the negative. So you need to have the
Correct.
courage to hear what worked, but more importantly, what did not work. Because too often, especially in this industry, in this field, people tend to tell you you're doing great. So the play ends, and everybody will come and tell you, "Wow, you were great." I have yet not been to a play in 20 years where the play gets over and somebody walks up to you and says, "That was crap."
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
Or maybe people aren't that impolite, so they won't tell you that. Now, you need to learn what is praise for the sake of praise, and what is genuine praise, and what is genuine criticism, and then bring that into your methodology. And like I said, each actor, each writer, each director needs to have their own set of trusted advisors. But we've seen the growth of writers, people who've started off. We have this competition for writers called Stage Right that happens each year, where you have 24 to 48 hours to write a 10-minute play, and that gets entered in short and sweet. And we've seen people who've started off over there, one stage right or finished in the top five, and then gone on to do big things. Classic example, Sid Abbas, who's a Dubai-based playwright, started off in stage right, wrote his 10-minute plays, um, won the festival one particular year, started writing for short and sweet, had a couple of his plays produced, and then went on to write full-length plays. Went on to edit, adapt them for stage. So the adaptation of Reservoir Dogs was done by him, and people really liked it. It could have gone very differently, but he was able to get that script and do it justice. So yeah, it is
Now
possible.
you spoke about Reservoir Dogs. It's one of my favorite movies. We
Yes,
actually, as Heredward Drama Club, we actually performed that play in a competition. We adapted that play, and we won.
I
We
did
came
see a
first.
video. I did see a video. I
You
saw
did
some
see who
clips,
showed you that?
videos. I don't know where it came up, but when we were doing research on the Reservoir Dogs, Satyan brought it into one of the meetings saying, "Hey, Harriet, what guys have done this before, so it's not the first time it's happening." And I don't know how, but he got hold of some camera. What's it called? Somebody's iPhone videos of it. I don't know how he got it. It was not the full play, but he got clips of it and he did show it to us. So yes, I have seen parts of it or a couple of clips of it.
I was actually the psycho in that play, and I beat the crap out
Mr.
of my
Blonde,
friend. Huh?
Mr. Blonde.
Yeah, Mr. Blonde. And the one thing I did was, Siddhant, if he's listening, I'm sorry, but I actually punched him in the stomach. I slapped him so hard, and I slapped him so hard, and someone in this crowd screamed "Ek aur marna," and I slapped him again, and his glasses flew. And
Well, poor Siddhant. But
yeah,
he's
poor
he's,
Siddhant,
he's
but
doing full length.
yeah, he has hit me also. Like when we did our first play in Short and Sweet, his when we did a first plays, together, he had to slap me in the end. So I told him that you have to slap me hard. I don't care, but you have to do it because in theater people don't expect realism that much, and when you do that, it really shocks them in a way.
It does. I think there are ways of also doing it that realism comes out, but with a little bit of training, a little bit of cheating,
Correct.
it can still come
Yeah.
out without end up hurting the actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So during our version, Alejandro, who played the police officer who gets fairly badly beaten, we were
Correct.
able to do quite a few scenes. But yes, I will admit to you that a couple of I there's a scene in which I drag him in and I beat him
Yeah.
quite a bit. And I'm sorry to say, while most of them did not land and we were able to cheat it out on stage, we call it cheating. But a couple of my shots on certain days, in the adrenaline, in the mojito of the moment, did land, and the poor
So you
guy did take a few shots. Oh no, I played Mr. White. There's a scene in which we drag him in. So the adaptation from our side was slightly different, but there was Mr. Blonde. We had one Mario Silva play Mr. Blonde, and he did a fabulous job as Mr. Blonde.
But how do you
And
decide to do that kind of a play in theater? Like so in that dude cut movie in the theater, that's very difficult.
I think it's one of the easier one to adapt. To be really honest, usually we don't, and this is the first time that we did it. Generally, we pick up theater scripts. We've got a library of full of scripts, and we pick up scripts from here. But I think it was a moment where we looked at the movie and it was such a cult classic. We kind of went,
Yeah.
okay, do you think we could adapt this for stage? Do you think we could potentially do something with it? And then Sid very nicely wrote the adaptation for stage, and we read it and we went, "Wow, this has come out well." And then it sat on our table for, or rather on the bench, it sat there for almost 2 years, and nobody picked it up. When Satyan came along and said he wanted to direct his first play, I went, "I know just the script for you." And so we gave it to him, and he took it to another level. So he did rewrites, he did scene changes, and then most of it is trying to figure out how do we make it look real. It shouldn't come across like a joke, right? I mean, it shouldn't
Yeah.
scenes can't come across poorly. Suddenly it can't feel like there aren't the realism is gone. And so it took Satyan, I think, 6 to 7 months to plan it out. He had copious notes on how will blood be done, how will certain scenes be done, ordering those guns which look very real, but at the same time, aren't very real. His trailer, his shoots, his photography, all of the things that actually made Reservoir Dogs sell out before the first show opened. So the show
Yeah.
was sold out before the opening night. The entire run was sold out. That's never happened. That's never happened to me. I've never seen it before. That the entire run of a play is sold out before it opens. And it was less to, I think it has something to do with the words Reservoir Dogs, but it had more to do with the approach and the treatment the director had given it. That people visually saw the posters, the trailers, and went, I want to watch this. I
Yeah.
can't miss this. And
So
so,
it's yeah.
yeah.
You're saying, you're
No,
saying.
hey, No, it was,
No,
it
I'm
was
just
really funny. A few weeks ago, I was standing at the Junction reception, and a gentleman in mask on walks over to me and goes, "Mr. White." And I had my mask on, and I went, "Yes." And he went, "The first play I ever watched in my life was when you guys did Reservoir Dogs, and I loved it. And it just made my entire day." Here was an
yeah.
audience member who went in, who had no clue of what the play was. He said, "I had not watched the movie either, and I didn't know it was a movie." He was a fairly younger
Oh.
gentleman. And he went, I watched it because somebody told me you should go for theater. And I
Hmm.
went. And in the first scene, I went, I don't think this is for me. And then the moment the second scene, the cafe scene ended, he's like, oh my God, I was blown away. And he said, based on that, I'm coming now. He was there for Midsummer Nights. And he said, you think I'm going to enjoy this? I said, I think you'll love this. And he came out with a big smile on his face. I think those are the moments we live for.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, all you want is appreciation and proper criticism. That's what you want, not
Yeah.
destructive criticism, constructive. Okay, how can you improve? If I'm being bad in this, how can I improve? And if I'm good in that, how can I improve even more? I think that's what
Yeah.
theater people are, and even artists normally. This is my last question to you. It's been great
Sure.
talking to you. What I want to know that why is theater so important for an artist? Why is theater is a doorway to creativity or confidence? Why it's such a big thing?
I think because it allows you to express yourself um, in a way that no other medium allows you to express yourself. I think every creative field allows you to express yourself, right? You paint, you're expressing yourself. You dance, you're expressing yourself. I think for a group of people, it is the kind of expression that they need of their feelings, of becoming somebody else, of creating that this canvas, this blank canvas, which is the stage, that you can bring somebody to it and just make them feel like they have escaped the real world, come within these four walls, and have opened up the doors to a brand new world. So, can we bring in a group of people who believe these are five people out going on a heist? Can we
Correct.
make people believe that we are in a forest where fairies and magical creatures are living side by side and dancing with us and are enchanting us? Can we make people believe that this is a little town where groups of people are falling in and out of love at the same time? Can we believe that this is a story about finding, losing love, finding, losing confidence, going through depression and growing? That, I think, is a challenge for an actor. With theater, what tends to also happen is theater is called the actor's medium. So what tends to happen is, unlike film where you can shoot, you can cut, you can retake, you can edit, and you can snip and change on the editing board, on the editing table. In theater, there is no second take. You make
Correct.
a mistake, there are people in front of you, you cover up, you got to do something. You are going right, the audience is enjoying it, something goes wrong, you're on there on your own. I'm reminded of a few different moments, and there are many such moments. But let me take one. I was directing a play, which was Agatha Christie's, and then there were none. We were at university, and I had a couple of new people who had never done theater in their life. And as we get to the final scene, and and then the banana is a classic Agatha Christie stories: 10 strangers on an island, and they keep getting murdered till you come down to the final two. So we come down to the final two, and as the scene starts, the lady on stage, and both these actors are first time actors, never been on stage before. The lady's supposed to drop her gun, right?
Okay.
And she drops it, and it breaks into four pieces on stage, which has
Oh,
never happened before. Never happened in the 4 months of rehearsal that we did, never happened in tech runs, never happened 3 nights of the show before. Final show, the gun breaks into three pieces.
okay.
And that's the gun with which she's supposed to kill the other guy. There are
What?
700 people sitting and watching. The gun's gone. She needs to
Yeah.
murder this guy who is bigger, stronger, physically more imposing than her. And she's got to do it in the moment without saying, I've forgotten my lines. And both actors, the guy was new, she was new. And they both just had to make the scene happen. And on the way, as they were doing it, because they had rehearsed so much, they flipped it around. He murdered her. The
What? They
audience was
changed the whole
surprised.
thing.
They changed the ending. And they
Wow.
did it so smoothly, the audience did not know what was happening. And that was the beauty of that, right? The audience believed
Yeah.
that was the ending, that the villain wins and succeeds. And we actually announced at the end, if you come tomorrow, you'll see another different ending. And people came. Many people came the next day to watch a different ending. That's the beauty of theater, Things go wrong, you cover up. We've had plays in which, in the middle of the play, the lights have gone. Somebody went and shut down the entire Al Sarkal Avenue's power system.
What?
Entire avenue went into darkness. Climax of the
Oh,
play.
oh my God.
In year one, did the play stop? Not at all. The actors kept performing in the dark. Best thing I've seen. Audience members started pulling out their phones, switching on their cameras, lights, and they lit up the entire stage, and the actors performed it. And
Okay,
everybody
that's
thought that
crazy.
was the genuine ending to the play. So that's why theater is so important. These beautiful stories that come out can't happen on different mediums. They can only happen in theater. Other mediums have their own strengths. I'm not belittling any other medium, but theater, to me, that's why it's so beautiful. You end up creating something, and you do it with other people. Theater is never done in isolation. There are people around you that you have to do this with, and there's got to be absolute trust between you and them, that no matter
Yeah.
what happens, this co-actor of mine, this tech person of mine, this stage manager of mine has my back,
Yeah,
and we're going to
that's
make it
true.
happen.
That's actually that's true, because so many things are dependent on a particular play, not just acting, but everything else. Where
Of
people have to
course,
come and go, and the audience has to be quiet. The lighting has to work properly. The
the
sound
props
has
have
to
to be
work
in
properly.
place.
Correct. And yeah,
Yeah,
shifting of the scenes and all that stuff. It's
that's why I say
uh,
20% of the iceberg versus 80% of what you don't see. There's so much more.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, exactly. A lot of thought process goes in directing a play. Like in movie, also is a different thing altogether.
It's a
But in
different medium,
theater,
and that's complicated as
yeah,
well.
yeah, that has its own problems, that has its own issues and stuff, because you are showcasing your product in front of the world, and you can just easily be criticized. But in theater, I think there's more openness and more love compared to social media, because in social media you can really just get berated, just like if something is wrong, and they don't like, they can really what is it, criticize you in a very bad way. In theater
Yeah.
they will be like, yeah, in theater, suppose something happens, for example, and you notice that a person has forgotten his lines, you won't scream at him, you'll be like, oh, it's okay, it happens. The audience also be forgiving.
It's more forgiving. I
Exactly.
can believe some of that. Yes, they are. At the same time, we've got our own critics as well who are
Yeah,
just as harsh.
yeah.
But fair, from a ticket paying audience member, they need to get the value for the ticket that they've put in that money for, and so of course people are civilized enough that they don't shout and scream while the show is going on. They understand that. But at the same time, they will let you know if they did not feel like that was worth their money.
But that has not happened. No one has shouted in front of a, like, live show. Someone has
We've
done
not
that.
we've not had we've not had anybody shout, no, but we've had phone usage. We've had my favorite. We have that every few weeks. No matter how much you announce, please switch off your devices. People just don't, and they believe it's like a movie. Where so last week I was watching a play. It was a Hindi play by Safety Productions, Darmiya, and the gentleman sitting 3 seats to my right suddenly had a phone call, which okay, people get a phone call, but the rare one which you never see is suddenly somebody going, "Hello, yes, yes, I'm in the theater. Yes, it's a live play." And I literally had to tell him, "What are you doing? This is a live medium. It's not like it's a movie that it's going to keep going. You're distracting these people." People just don't understand it. So you get that.
So how did the actors respond to that?
We've had, look, we've had actors, largely actors tend to be professional. They tend to ignore. But if it goes too much, there was a play I was doing a few years ago where it became too much. We were on the verge of stopping the play. And I've seen that happen, by the way, with professional
Oh,
theater.
wow.
The great stage performer, Nasruddin Shah from India, who is one of, theater's best performers. I have
Yeah.
seen him stop a play and directly speak to the audience member and say, "No, go ahead, please answer that. When you're done, we will continue." Made the guy answer the call and then said, "Are you done? That's okay. You ready? Can we go ahead?" Went back the scene, rewinded it about a minute or two, started doing the scene again. And that is just, you'd be mortified, right? If that happened to you
Yeah.
as an audience member. But yeah, I've seen that happen. We've luckily not had those extremes in Dubai and the Junction, but we've had to ask people to leave. We've definitely had to ask a few people to leave.
Leave because
There's
of
been
the
one extreme
behavior.
for their phone etiquette. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
actually I've actually had a play where I've actually walked over, not as an actor, I was a director, but from the tech book I had to walk over, and there was a person constantly on their phone. I had to snatch their phone away and take it back to the tech booth and said, "Collect it after the play." So I've had that childish behavior that people have done, that it's forced us to do this. You can imagine how much of it was happening, that during a play, somebody had to walk over from the tech booth, snatch your phone, and take it away.
That's very embarrassing, actually, to even be
Not
in
for
that
them. They were
position.
not embarrassed. By the end of the play, they were angry. "How dare you take my phone away? I'm not a child." So we said, "Then don't behave like one."
Wow, that shows some people's mentality. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Gautam, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. Honestly, like, I really had a great time talking to you, coming to know the process of theater. Thank you for starting the Junction. You and your partners.
No,
Thank you for creating a feel like to express yourself. Thank you so much.
no, Kunal, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the call. And, I always end by saying, we've done nothing. We provide a platform. The platform cannot go on without two other elements, and that is the performers. So the community of performers that we have here in the UAE, and two, the audience. Without them, also, we can't go on. So theater takes three things: the stage, the production, and the audience. All three are important.
That's very well said by Mr. Gautam Goenka. People who are seeing this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the Junctions page. It's the link in the bio. Thank you, Gautam, once again. Take care.
Thank
God
you.
bless and stay safe.
Thank you.
See you, man.
See ya.